Have you ever wondered if animals can perceive truths that remain entirely invisible to us? That gut feeling, that unshakable instinct. What if our four-legged companions possess a sixth sense, seeing beyond the surface of what seems normal? Today, we're diving into a story that proves it. A story where an airport, a baby, and an alert service dog set off a chain of events that left everyone stunned. Before we unravel this incredible tale, drop a comment below telling us where in the world you're watching from. And if you're captivated by extraordinary K9 hero stories like this one, make sure to hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what's coming next. It was a typically bustling afternoon at Chicago O'Hare International. The air hummed with the low roar of distant planes, the murmur of hurried conversations, and the rhythmic announcements echoing through the vast terminal. Passengers, some weary from long journeys, others brimming with the excitement of new destinations, navigated the crowds. Among them moved Officer David Chen, his presence calm and authoritative. At his side, in perfect synchronized silence, was Kira. A majestic Labrador retriever, Kira wasn't just any service dog. She was a highly specialized K9, trained not for bombs or drugs, but for something far more intricate: human behavior assessment and emotional detection. It was a rare, invaluable skill set that had countless times helped avert crises before they even began. Chen and Kira moved through the crowd with practiced ease, a silent, efficient partnership. Kira's presence alone often deterred trouble, her calm demeanor a testament to years of rigorous training. They were halfway to Concourse C, observing the flow of passengers when Chen felt the first subtle shift in Kira's behavior. It started with a slight stiffening in her gait, then her ears, normally relaxed, swiveled forward, homing in on something only she could sense. A soft, almost imperceptible whimper began to vibrate in her throat. Chen's instincts immediately flared. This wasn't Kira's typical alert for contraband or a suspicious package. This was something different, something deeply unsettling. Kira's intensity fixed, unwaveringly, on a woman in her late 20s. She was elegantly dressed, seemingly unfazed by the airport chaos, gently rocking a baby carrier. To the casual observer, nothing seemed amiss. Yet, Kira's low growl deepened, vibrating through her entire body. Travelers nearby began to nervously shift away, creating an expanding circle of space around the trio. "Ma'am, is your dog okay?" an airport employee asked, approaching with a concerned frown. Chen was about to offer an explanation when Kira's behavior escalated dramatically. The growl transformed into a series of sharp, authoritative barks that echoed through the terminal. Phones immediately came up, passengers filming the disruption as Chen felt his professional composure slipping. "Kira, stand down," he ordered, his voice firmer than intended, embarrassment flooding his face. But beneath the embarrassment came a creeping certainty. This wasn't a false alarm or an overwhelmed reaction to the crowd. This specific pattern of behavior, this unwavering focus on a woman and a child, Chen had seen it exactly once before. It was on the case that had defined both his and Kira's careers, a memory that sent a shiver down his spine. "I'm so sorry about this," Chen said, approaching the woman with his most reassuring tone while maintaining a firm grip on Kira's leash. The Labrador continued to strain forward, her barking now replaced by an intense, unwavering focus and a high-pitched whine that Chen recognized as Kira's signal for something profoundly wrong. "She's normally extremely well-behaved. I don't know what's gotten into her," he continued. The woman shifted the sleeping baby higher against her shoulder, her hand protectively cradling the infant's head. "It's fine," she said, her voice carrying a slight tremor beneath its polished tone. "But I need to get to my gate. We've already been delayed for hours." Chen noticed that despite the woman's words, she was subtly backing away, creating more distance between herself and Kira. What struck him most was the baby. Throughout the commotion, the infant remained unnaturally still, motionless, despite the loud barking that had just subsided. "Which flight are you catching?" Chen asked, keeping his tone conversational, while his trained eye caught subtle inconsistencies. The woman's designer luggage, though expensive, was scuffed in ways inconsistent with normal travel. And though she wore a wedding ring, there was no indent on her finger suggesting long-term wear. "American Airlines to Denver, then connecting to Chicago," the woman replied quickly, too quickly. "My husband is waiting for us." Kira had shifted into a behavior pattern Chen had only observed during specialized training, a rhythmic movement between focusing on the woman's face and then the baby, then back again. This wasn't an alert for contraband or weapons. It was an alert to the relationship itself. "Your baby is sleeping soundly through all this," Chen observed, nodding toward the infant, who hadn't stirred, flinched, or reacted at all to the previous barking. "How old?" "8 months," the woman answered, then immediately corrected herself. "I mean, almost 9 months now." Her free hand fluttered nervously to the designer scarf around her neck. "Please, my gait." "I understand," Chen nodded, making a show of checking his watch. "American to Chicago, you said? That's interesting, because all American flights to Chicago were canceled 2 hours ago due to the storm. They made an announcement." The woman's composure fractured momentarily, her eyes widening before she regained control. "I meant United. It's been such a long day, I'm getting confused with all the changes." "Would you mind if I just check your travel documents?" Chen said, positioning himself subtly to block the nearest exit. "With all the confusion today, we're helping passengers confirm their new flight information." "That won't be necessary," the woman said, her voice hardening as she took another step backward. "We're already late." The baby hadn't moved at all during this entire interaction, Chen observed quietly. Not even a fidget during Kira's barking. Most babies would at least stir for the briefest moment. Something cold flickered behind the woman's eyes. "She's a good sleeper," she insisted. "Ma'am, I'm going to need to see some identification and the baby's travel documents," Chen said, no longer asking. "It's standard procedure when traveling with infants." Chen gently guided the woman to a quieter area near a service corridor, away from the throngs of stranded passengers but still within view of security cameras. Kira remained in a steadfast alert position, her focus unwavering as the woman awkwardly fumbled to retrieve identification, all while balancing the still motionless infant. "My wallet should be right here," the woman muttered, digging through an expensive leather handbag that seemed far too new to match her claimed travel history. "I'm Sarah Jenkins, and this is my daughter, Lily." Chen noted the slight hesitation before the baby's name, filing it away mentally alongside the other inconsistencies. When the woman finally produced a driver's license, Chen examined it carefully. An Ohio license, issued 14 months ago, yet with no visible wear despite supposedly being carried daily. The photo matched, but something about the holographic security features didn't quite catch the light right. "And do you have Lily's birth certificate or passport?" Chen asked, maintaining his professional demeanor while quietly radioing for a secondary officer to join them. "All minors need identification for air travel." "It's in my checked luggage," Sarah replied too quickly. "The airline said it wasn't necessary to keep it with me since she's an infant." Officer Miller arrived, a veteran with 20 years of experience who took in the situation with a quick glance at Chen's subtle hand signal. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to come with us to the security office where we can sort this out more comfortably," Miller said with practiced authority. "Standard procedure when there are questions about documentation." The baby, Lily, if that was really her name, still hadn't moved beyond shallow breathing. No startles, no shifts in position, none of the normal fidgeting even sleeping infants typically display. Chen's concern deepened. "Is there something wrong with the baby?" he asked directly, watching Sarah's reaction closely. "She's just a good sleeper," Sarah repeated, but her eyes darted away. She had a long night. As they walked toward the security office, Chen's mind flashed back to the case that had first revealed Kira's extraordinary abilities. Kira had been found guarding the body of a 1-year-old girl, the mother lying nearby, both victims of a home invasion gone horribly wrong. What had shocked officers wasn't just the dog's protective stance, but her refusal to leave, even days later. They discovered she'd sustained wounds trying to defend the family. Most dogs would have been considered too traumatized for service work after such an experience. But something about Kira's hypervigilance around children, initially a liability, was eventually recognized as an extraordinary sensitivity that could be channeled into specialized training. "I'd like to request a medical check for the baby," Chen said to Miller, keeping his voice low. "She hasn't moved or responded normally this entire time." Sarah's composure cracked visibly. "That's ridiculous. You can't just demand to medically examine my child based on your dog's behavior. This is harassment." Kira's reaction to the woman's raised voice was telling. Rather than becoming more alert to a perceived threat, she positioned herself closer to the baby, as if trying to shield the infant from the woman claiming to be her mother. "Miss Jenkins, we have reason for concern," Chen said firmly. "The baby's lack of response to external stimuli is unusual. We're requesting a welfare check, which is within our authority when we have reasonable suspicion a minor may be in distress." The arrival of the airport medical team temporarily interrupted the questioning as a paramedic gently examined the still, unresponsive infant. Chen stepped aside with Miller to brief him more fully on his suspicions. Kira remained positioned. Near the baby, her behavior now a textbook display of protective vigilance rather than alert signaling. The paramedic's voice pulled Chen back to the present. "This child has been sedated," she reported with professional urgency. "Respirations are depressed, pupils sluggish. We need to get her to emergency care immediately." Sarah Jenkins, if that was her real name, lunged suddenly for the door, but Kira was faster, positioning herself firmly in the woman's path without aggression but with unmistakable purpose. "Miss Jenkins, you're being detained pending investigation," Chen stated formally as Miller moved to secure the increasingly agitated woman. "The infant is being taken for emergency medical evaluation, and we're going to have a lot of questions for you." Detective Miller from Chicago PD's Special Victims Unit arrived within the hour, his weathered face grave as he reviewed the preliminary reports. The emergency medical team had already whisked the infant away, confirming the sedative's presence and the urgent need for comprehensive care. "The woman's real name is Eleanor Vance," Miller explained to Chen, showing him a file on his tablet. "Released 3 weeks ago from Willow Creek Psychiatric Hospital after a 6-month involuntary commitment." The photo in the file showed Eleanor appearing vacant-eyed, a stark contrast to the composed facade she'd presented at the airport. "What was she in for?" Chen asked, watching as Kira maintained her vigilant position near the emergency room entrance, as if still guarding the baby even from a distance. "Severe postpartum depression following the death of her infant daughter from SIDS 6 months ago," Miller replied. "She was found trying to take a baby from a grocery store parking lot, claiming it was her child. The doctors thought she was responding well to treatment, but clearly—" He gestured toward the emergency room and the baby. "Do we know who she is?" Chen asked. Miller nodded. "Her name is Lily Hayes, 8 months old, reported missing from her home in Milwaukee yesterday. The mother is Eleanor's sister, Clara Hayes. She's flying in now, should be here within the hour." Chen processed this information, the pieces fitting together with grim logic. "So Eleanor took her sister's baby, sedated her to keep her quiet during travel, and was attempting to flee the state?" "That's our working theory," Miller confirmed, "though there are still unanswered questions. Eleanor doesn't drive and had no access to funds. Someone helped her get to Milwaukee, take the baby, and make it to O'Hare with fake documents." In the secure interview room, Eleanor Vance looked nothing like the confident woman from the airport. Her designer clothes were rumpled, makeup smeared from crying, all pretense stripped away by the harsh reality of her situation. "I just wanted her back," she whispered when Chen entered, not looking up. They told me she was gone, but mothers know. We always know. You're talking about your daughter, Chen said gently, taking the seat across from her. The one who died? Eleanor's gaze snapped up, suddenly fierce. She didn't die! That's what they want everyone to believe. Dr. Albright showed me the truth, how they take babies from mothers they deem unfit and place them with more suitable families. My sister's baby. She looks just like my Emily. It can't be coincidence. Dr. Albright? Chen prompted. You mean your former therapist? He understands, Eleanor continued, her words tumbling out faster. He's seen it happen to other mothers, too. The system declaring them unstable, taking their children, faking deaths. He helped me see that Lily's really Emily. They just gave her to my sister when they took her from me. Chen maintained a compassionate expression while mentally connecting the disturbing dots. And then Kira, lying quietly beside Chen's chair, suddenly perked up. Her ears shifted forward, her attention fixed on the interview room door. Chen had learned to trust these subtle alerts. His partner had detected something significant. "What is it, girl?" he murmured, following Kira's gaze to where a man in a crisp suit was speaking with a police officer outside. His hospital ID badge was prominently displayed. That's Dr. Albright, Eleanor's former therapist from Willow Creek. He called it in when he heard she'd been detained. Says he's concerned about her mental state during questioning. Kira's posture changed dramatically, the relaxed vigilance replaced by rigid alertness, the same behavior she'd displayed toward Eleanor earlier. Chen had worked with Kira long enough to recognize the pattern. His partner had identified another threat. Eleanor's fragmented confession, combined with Kira's unshakable alert, immediately shifted the focus of the investigation. Detective Miller wasted no time. An emergency warrant was expedited, leading them to the records of Willow Creek Psychiatric Hospital. Surveillance footage from Eleanor's room taken days before the abduction played on a large screen in the Chicago PD's Special Victims Unit office. The timestamp read 2:14 a.m., 3 nights before Lily Hayes went missing. In the grainy video, Dr. Albright sat beside Eleanor's bed, speaking in low, soothing tones as he showed her something on a tablet. He's programming her, an FBI consultant explained, pausing the footage. Using her delusions about her lost child to manipulate her into believing her niece is actually her own. Classic exploitation of a vulnerable subject. Lily Hayes's mother, Clara, who had been quietly providing background information while hospital staff cared for her daughter nearby, spoke up. Eleanor told me once that Dr. Albright said he understood her pain because he'd lost a child too. A son taken by the system. In an unjust custody battle. Chen felt the pieces clicking together, matching the pattern Kira had somehow detected from the beginning. He's recreating his own trauma through these women, Chen realized. Using them to recover what he believes was taken from him. The storage facility on the outskirts of Chicago stood stark against the fading daylight. Rows of identical orange doors lining concrete corridors. Unit 31M, rented under a shell company traced back to Dr. Albright, was secured with both a digital lock and a heavy padlock. The search warrant had been expedited based on the mounting evidence, but Kira's behavior suggested whatever lay beyond that door was worse than they'd anticipated. When the lock finally yielded with a metallic click, Kira stepped back, positioning herself beside Chen as if seeking reassurance before facing whatever lay within. The storage unit contained no people, no immediate threats, but what it revealed was perhaps more disturbing for its methodical organization. One wall was covered with photographs, news clippings, and medical records, all relating to infants and young children. Another held medical equipment, including sedatives identical to those used on Lily. But most disturbing was the center of the room where a nursery had been meticulously assembled. Crib, changing table, rocking chair, all arranged as if waiting for a child. Kira moved carefully through the space, her training allowing her to navigate without disturbing evidence. She stopped at a filing cabinet in the corner, alerting with the specific pattern she used for documents of interest. Inside, they found what appeared to be Dr. Albright's private case files, detailed psychological profiles of dozens of women who had lost children, all patients at various institutions where he'd worked over the years. Each file contained annotations about susceptibility to reconditioning and potential for maternal reclamation project. Suddenly, Kira gave a sharp alert bark, the specific signal she'd been trained to use when finding concealed evidence. She stood rigid, focused on what appeared to be an ordinary section of drywall. The forensics team moved in with their equipment, quickly confirming a hidden compartment behind the false wall. They discovered what transformed the case from exploitation to something far darker. USB drives containing videos of Dr. Albright interviewing his patients, gradually reshaping their perceptions through careful manipulation. More disturbing were the files documenting failed reclamations, cases where his subjects had been caught or had failed to retrieve the targeted children. They found detailed plans for manipulating a current patient, a woman named Emily Davis, into believing her recently deceased infant was actually alive and being raised by a cousin in Seattle. The timing in his notes showed this was scheduled for next week. If Kira hadn't alerted to Eleanor at the airport. In the secure interview room, Dr. Albright sat with the practiced calm of someone accustomed to being the authority figure. His attorney, a sharp-suited woman from an expensive firm, had advised him to say nothing, but his ego proved stronger than her counsel. "This is all a tremendous misunderstanding," he began, his voice carrying the same soothing tones he likely used with patients. "Eleanor Vance is a deeply disturbed individual whose delusions have unfortunately been treated as fact." Kira, lying quietly beside Chen's chair, lifted her head at this statement, her ears forward with intense focus. "We found your storage unit, Dr. Albright," Miller replied evenly, "and your files. Rather detailed records for someone claiming misunderstanding." "Research materials," Albright countered smoothly. "I'm writing a book on maternal grief and delusional reclamation. These women's stories are powerful examples of how the mind creates alternative realities to cope with loss." Kira stood suddenly, moving to position herself directly across from Albright, her amber eyes fixed on him with unsettling intensity. It wasn't an aggressive move, but something more disconcerting. Recognition. "Your dog seems poorly socialized," Albright commented, a flicker of genuine unease crossing his face. "Military canines need proper transition training for civilian work." "Kira isn't military," Chen corrected. "She's a survivor, found at a crime scene where a mother and baby were murdered. The interesting thing is how she somehow developed the ability to detect when children are in danger, particularly from adults pretending to be something they're not." "What happened to your son, Dr. Albright?" Chen asked quietly, following Kira's lead. "The court records show you lost custody 5 years ago, but there's no record of him after that." The change was immediate and dramatic. Albright's composed facade cracked, revealing a flash of raw fury before he regained control. "I don't think so," Chen replied calmly, "because while we've been having this conversation, search teams have been executing warrants at your residence and office. I'm particularly interested in what they might find in the locked room in your basement, the one with the reinforced door." It was a calculated guess based on Kira's reaction, but Albright's expression confirmed Chen had hit the mark. The facade collapsed entirely, revealing something cold and calculating beneath. "You have no idea what you're interfering with," he said, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "These women, I'm helping them reclaim what was taken. The system destroys families, declares mothers unfit, tears children from their natural bonds. My work restores the natural order." "Where is your son, Dr. Albright?" Chen asked quietly. The smile that spread across his face contained no warmth. "Safe. beyond the reach of a system that separates families based on arbitrary standards of fitness. Each of these women, their rehearsals, preparations, learning from their failures, to ensure my success. As if on cue, Chen's phone buzzed with a message from the team at Albright's residence. Hidden room located in basement. Evidence of recent child care. No child present, but signs suggest occupied within past 48 hours. The search for Dr. Albright's son expanded across 3 states over the next 72 hours. Kira worked tirelessly alongside specialized search teams, her unique abilities proving invaluable as they narrowed their focus to a remote cabin nestled deep. Within the East Texas piney woods, the operation unfolded with practiced precision. Within 20 minutes, tactical teams had secured the cabin and its occupant, a young woman who identified herself as Sarah Miller, a nursing student hired through a private agency to care for a Dr. Maxwell's son while he was traveling for work. The boy, found sleeping peacefully in a carefully decorated bedroom, appeared healthy and well cared for. Now awake, he watched the officers with solemn eyes that seemed too old for his 5 years. "Hello," Chen said gently, kneeling to his eye level while Kira sat patiently beside her partner. "My name is David. This is Kira." The child's focus immediately shifted to the dog, something softening in his guarded expression. "She's pretty," he said quietly. "Is she nice?" "Very nice," Chen assured him. "Would you like to pet her? She's especially trained to help children feel safe." Kira moved forward with gentle precision, lowering her head to make herself less intimidating. The boy reached out hesitantly, then with more confidence when Kira responded with a soft whine of encouragement. "What's your name?" Chen asked as the child stroked Kira's fur. "Ethan," he replied, "but sometimes Dad calls me Andrew for safety." "Is my dad in trouble?" the boy asked cautiously. "Sometimes grown-ups don't tell the truth," Chen said gently, "but we're going to find out exactly what happened and make sure you're with people who will take very good care of you." The subsequent investigation revealed the devastating truth. Ethan's mother hadn't abandoned him at all. Maria Vance had been fighting desperately to regain custody of her son for over 3 years. Hampered by falsified psychological evaluations and manipulated court records, all orchestrated by her ex-husband, Dr. Albright, who had used his professional credentials to systematically discredit her. The reunion, when it finally happened under careful supervision at the Children's Advocacy Center, broke and mended Chen's heart simultaneously. Maria fell to her knees when she saw Ethan, tears streaming down her face as she held out trembling arms. The boy hesitated, years of his father's conditioning evident in his uncertainty. Kira, still by Ethan's side, gently nudged him forward, a subtle encouragement that seemed to give him the confidence he needed. He took one step, then another, before finally running into his mother's embrace. "My baby," Maria sobbed, holding him as if she might never let go. "My beautiful boy." As they watched Maria and Ethan begin the delicate process of rebuilding their relationship, Chen reflected on the chain of events that had led to this moment. What had started with Kira's unexpected barking at an airport had uncovered a scheme of manipulation and exploitation spanning years, all because a traumatized dog had developed an extraordinary ability to sense when parent-child relationships weren't what they appeared to be. "Your partner is something special," Miller observed, nodding toward Kira, who had settled into a watchful position near Ethan and his mother. "Most canines are trained to find specific threats, drugs, explosives, suspects. But Kira finds the truth. That's what trauma did for her," Chen replied thoughtfully. "When she couldn't save that little girl years ago, something fundamental changed in how she perceives the world. She's constantly looking for children in danger, constantly assessing the authenticity of the adults around them." "A blessing from a tragedy," Miller mused. Later that evening, as Chen completed his final report on the case, Kira dozed beside his desk, occasionally twitching in her sleep. The department had been buzzing all day with news of their success, with the chief personally stopping by to commend them on their work. "Good girl," he whispered, as Kira's eyes opened briefly, meeting his with that familiar, intelligent gaze before drifting closed again. "You did good." Outside, the city night had settled over Chicago, stars emerging in the darkening sky. Tomorrow would bring new cases, new challenges. But for tonight, they had earned their rest. Because sometimes, Chen reflected, watching his partner sleep, the deepest wounds create the most remarkable healing, not just for those who are rescued, but for the rescuers themselves. Have you ever wondered if animals can sense things that humans miss? The remarkable story of Kira and Officer Chen reminds us that sometimes our four-legged companions perceive truths that remain invisible to us. Their extraordinary bond, forged through shared intuition and mutual trust, demonstrates how the deepest wounds can sometimes create the most remarkable abilities. What do you think gives service dogs like Kira their seemingly supernatural intuition? Is it their enhanced senses, their profound emotional intelligence, or something more profound that science hasn't yet explained? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If Kira's story touched your heart, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another incredible tale of canine heroism. Our channel is dedicated to sharing these remarkable stories that highlight the extraordinary abilities of service dogs and the brave officers who work alongside them. Check out our previous videos appearing on your screen now. From military canines who saved entire platoons to therapy dogs who helped traumatized children find their voices again, each story reminds us that the bond between handlers and their canine partners often transcends mere training, becoming something truly extraordinary.